Hello everyone. Good afternoon one and all. Greetings of the day. Welcome to today's class. Hello everyone. Welcome to India's largest learning platform Unacademy. Let's crack UGC NET examination through Unacademy platform. I welcome you all to today's class. Welcome you all. Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon one and all. Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon one and all. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes, my dear friends. Good afternoon, one and all. Once again, I welcome you all to today's class. So, welcome to India's largest learning platform, Unacademy. Let's crack UGC NET examination through Unacademy platform. So, NET examination has been started. So, we got three wonderful question papers on paper 1. So, after receiving the feedback from various students who attempted these examinations, we got a clear picture that more number of questions are asking from methods of research and few questions are asking from steps of research. So keeping that in mind, after collecting the feedback from those students, keeping their feedback in mind, so based upon their memory, so they told that these questions came from this topics. Keeping that in mind, today we are going to discuss about few MCQs related to research aptitude. This is part 1. Very soon, within a couple of another 2-3 days, we'll also plan for part 2 as well as part 3. So why? Because we are going with quick revision. We have to complete these as soon as possible because this will definitely help for your external, for your NET examination. This will definitely help you in getting good score in your NET examination. Friends, today we are going to discuss a wonderful concept. The concept is related to research aptitude. So today we are going to discuss about research aptitude top MCQs part 1. So we'll also go with part 2 as well as part 3 very soon. But today we'll discuss few aspects related to research meaning, objectives, characteristics, because two questions has been asked on research concept, meaning, characteristics, as well as around 4 to 5 questions has been asked on methods of research and few questions on steps of research. So this is very important. So keeping that in mind, today we are going to discuss the part 1 of research aptitude top MCQ, that is part 1. Friends, before starting our presentation, let me introduce myself first. I am Dr. Ahamed Basha, PhD in Management, awarded in the year 2014, Indian Institute of Management, Jammu Alumni Executive Program, UGC NET with JRF. During my PhD program, during my full-time PhD program, I received grants from UGC as JRF awardee, as well as my JRF has been extended to SRF. And during my 4-year PhD program, I received grants from University Grants Commission from JRF to SRF. So I completed my PhD successfully with the grants of University Grants Commission. I have 5 plus post graduation degrees. I have 14 years of teaching, training, and research experience. I have nearly 50 plus articles published in various international, national level journals, conferences, national, international level, and various publications. So keeping this in mind, so I deal paper 1 as well as management and commerce oriented subjects. Next comes here is please go with iconic as well as plus subscription. Very soon we are going to start our special classes. We have various benefits. Whatever I am discussing here, top MCQs, maybe around 50, around 100 I will discuss. But I have a huge database of these MCQs. Around 8,000 plus MCQs are there with me. So which covers the wide range of questions from all angles. This is very important. So you can expect personal guidance, study planner, our study material, expert guidelines, test analysis, examinations are also there with us. You can go with any one of these. You can listen not only my classes, you can also listen other classes also. We have India's best educators. You can go with plus as well as iconic subscription, depends upon your requirement. Here you can see these are the various benefits you will get if you take plus as well as iconic subscription. In the same manner, you can go with no cost EMI also, depends upon your goal. Why? Because December 2021 net is also going to come very soon. Very soon. Yes, December 2021 net examination is also going to come very soon, my dear friends. The notification may out very soon in the last week of December or else the first week or last week of January. Examination would be in the month of March or April. Keeping that in mind, you can go with subscription. You can go with 24 months, 12 months, as well as 6 months. Either you can go with the plus subscription or else you can go with iconic subscription. This will definitely help you. So keeping that in mind, we have so many other benefits, my dear friends, and don't forget to use Basha 10. Very soon, my special classes are going to come. You can utilize those special classes. We have various benefits for plus and iconic subscriptions. My special classes are going to come with various benefits. My dear friends, I deal teaching and research aptitude part 1 as well as management and commerce classes. My dear friends, you can also follow my profile Ahamed Basha Sir as well as I deal in English as well as in English and Telugu vernacular language. Very soon our special classes are going to come, our live classes are going to come. You can go with this subscription. Don't think about that subscription because your future is very important. Achieving JRF is very important. Your PhD is very important. In future, you are going to attract so much articles. You have a wonderful future through this JRF qualification. So keeping that in mind, we will start today's class, my dear friends. We will start research aptitude part 1 top MCQs. These multiple choice questions will definitely add value to your profile very soon. You will get very wonderful marks in your net examination. Yes, yes. Good afternoon. That's very nice. That's very nice. आप हिंदी नहीं जानते? या मुझे हिंदी आता है बट मुझे इंग्लिश और इंग्लिश के साथ तेलुगु लैंग्वेज में बोलने के लिए कहा गया है. सो इसलिए मैं हिंदी में नहीं इंग्लिश में बोलूंगा. सो यू कैन ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड माई लैंग्वेज बिकॉज आई एम यूजिंग वेरी वेरी सिंपल इंग्लिश. आई एम नॉट यूजिंग एडवांस्ड इंग्लिश. आई एम यूजिंग वेरी सिंपल इंग्लिश. मुझे हिंदी आता है बट इस क्लास में मैं इंग्लिश में डील करूंगा और वेरी सून इंग्लिश क्लासेस के साथ एक रीजनल साउथ इंडियन लैंग्वेज है जो तेलुगु है उसके साथ मैं मेरे स्पेशल क्लासेस वेरी सून अपलोड करने वाला. ओके, प्लीज कोऑपरेट कीजिए. या श्योर, मैं कोशिश करूंगा. Okay, my dear friends, so today in this class we are going to present some MCQs. So please use the chat box and please share your responses. Those students who are watching this video live or a recorded class, please try to answer your questions through your comments in the comment section as well as in the live chat. Why? Because your engagement, your response is also very important, my dear friends. Education subject. You are speaking about education subject. Education subject. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon. ओके, आपको अगर कुछ डाउट है तो प्लीज कमेंट सेक्शन में मेंशन कीजिए. मैं जरूर से आपका डाउट क्लैरिफाई करूंगा. So, if you have any doubt, please mention the comment section. Definitely, I will try to clarify that. Okay, my dear friends, without any delay, we will move to the first question, which is related to the research meaning, objectives, as well as characteristics. The first question, whatever questions we are showing here, all these questions will add value to your knowledge, will definitely help you in scoring better marks in your examination. The first question, what is the main objective of research? Friends, in the previous session, we discussed about what is research and what are the various characteristics of research, why research is done. So here we have different options to review the literature. First of all, what is review of literature? So review of literature is nothing but it's a secondary data. A review of literature is conducted only to identify the research gaps. This is the first step in research formulating of research problem. In the first step of research formulating of research problem, there is a concept called research review of literature. So review of literature is done so that you can identify some research gaps and you can formulate some objectives. Based upon that, you can identify some variables, measuring scales. Then comes to hypothesis formulation. So review of literature might be important, but that is not the main objective of research. We will move to the next concept. To summarize what is already known. If you are just summarizing what is already done by someone, so how can it be a research? So you should project new facts, you should project a solution for your research. So this cannot be the answer. To get an academic degree, no, I am not saying that this is a negative one. It might be correct. It might be objective of your research program. But when compared to the three options, you can see to discover new facts or make fresh interpretation of known facts is the answer for this particular question. That is the main objective of research. Absolutely correct. We will move to the next question. This question is also very important, and this question is also related with the research meaning, objectives, as well as characteristics. Which of the following options are the main tasks of research in modern society? Which of the following options are the main tasks of research in the modern society? First option. So, in the previous sessions also we discussed a few MCQs. There also I told very clearly this type of questions are giving this type of questions, they will use some statements. So supporting those statements, there are few options listed here. You need to choose any one of these options, A, B, C, D. This is also very important. So these statements, so that we can cover maximum content through these questions. First of all, to keep pace with the advancement in knowledge, that is also one main task of research, correct? To discover new things, that is also one important concept associated with research. Next, to write a critic on the earlier writings. No, this cannot be the main task of research. Research is nothing but finding out new things. Research is nothing but adding new things to the existing knowledge. Research is nothing but finding out a solution for a problem. If you are just going with adding a critic on the earlier writings, it is not research. It is just sharing of your opinion. It is just sharing of your opinion. So this cannot be correct, my dear friends. The next statement, if you see, to systematically examine and critically analyze the investigation source with objectivity. This is absolutely correct. So out of these four options, third option is not acceptable. So you can see here, fourth, second, first is the answer for this particular question. We will move to the next question, my dear friends. Okay, which of the following is the first step in starting the research process? Many times this question has been asked in the previous examinations. Many times, what is the first step in the research process? What is the first step in the research? This question has been asked not less than 15 plus times in NET and set level examination. This is very important. This is very important. So keeping that in mind, searching sources of information to locate the problem. No, you should not locate the problem. As well as survey of related literature. No, this is not the first step. The first step in research is identification of the research problem. This is also called as formulation. formulation. You have to remember this word. Identification. You are not finding a problem. You are not searching for a problem. You are just identifying the problem, as well as this is the first step in the research process, my dear friends. This particular question has been asked directly as well as indirectly with a few modifications and few multiplications and additions in the content. This question has been asked and presented nearly 15 plus times. So this is very very important. In the recent state level examination also, state level examination also, this question has been asked. So the answer is C, my dear friends. We will move to the next question. Research is conducted to Research is conducted to, first of all, generate new knowledge. Absolutely correct. Generating new knowledge. Why? Because if you are not giving any value addition to the existing knowledge, then what is the use of conducting that research? There is no use of conducting that research. You have to add new knowledge. That means you need to generate new knowledge. That is very important for my dear friends. Next, not to develop a theory. No, research is there to develop theory. This developing theory is linked with the testing of hypothesis. This developing of theory is linked with testing of hypothesis. This is very important. First of all, you should know the importance of hypothesis. First of all, formulation of hypothesis. Then after going with few steps, you need to collect the data. After collecting the data, you need to analyze and process the data. Then comes testing of hypothesis. This is very very important. This is very important. You have to remember this for the examination purpose. So formulation of hypothesis is different. After that you will go for data collection. So after that you will go for data processing. Then you will go for testing of hypothesis. Then you will go with establishing of a theory. So research is there to develop theory, but here it tells that research is there not to develop theory. This is absolutely wrong. Next comes here is obtaining research degree. To obtain research degree, correct. I am not saying this is wrong. This is correct. This is not negative. The same thing. You might observe the same point has been repeated in a form of an option in the previous question. This shows that there are around 50 to 60% questions in NET examination and other state level set examinations where questions are repeatedly asking. So these previous year questions as well as new multiple choice questions will add value to your knowledge, and this will definitely help you to crack NET as well as set examination very easily. But in order to achieve JRF, you need to add some more content, you need to refer some more material so that you can cover the remaining 50% of new content which comes in NET examination. As well as reinterpret existing knowledge. Yes, reinterpretation is also done. In the same manner, if you can see, the answer for this particular question is 1, 2 as well as 4, 1, 3 as well as 4, my dear friends, because 2 is not acceptable one. Absolutely correct. Next question. Then again you can see here the first step of research process. I have included these questions, 2-3 questions, because to tell you that how many times this question has been repeated. So you can remember this question, very important. The first step of research process. Again it's given survey of literature survey, that is review of literature. The same word has been given in the previous question, but with a slight modification in the content. To prepare research design, no. To develop hypothesis, no. First of all, we need to formulate research problem. So here the word identify, to identify a research problem has changed with formulate research problem. There you can understand. So how many times this question has been repeated in the previous examinations at the NET as well as set level. My dear friends, my kind request to each and everyone who is watching this video, please use the chat box. Your responses are very important. Until and unless you engage yourself towards answering these questions, until and you do some mistake here, no problem, we will rectify that. Because the final examination is very important. Once you do a small mistake, you can rectify here itself. But if you go to the main examination, whether that is NET, SET or research common interest test or any other examination, there is no possibility for correction. So please give your maximum responses, even if you know the answer. If you don't know the answer, it is my request, my dear friends. Yes, exactly. Formulating. This is exactly. So, formulating, identifying, but not selecting, but not searching, but not finding. Formulating is the correct meaning, correct word in research, my dear friends. So, the answer for this particular question is D. You can see here, we have one more question. We have one more question where it is saying that, so please arrange the research steps in order. See here. So please arrange the correct sequence of these research steps. Again, you can recall the same thing which we have discussed earlier in the options. Identification of research problem, because this is very important. This is very important concept. Keeping that in mind, you can just rearrange the various steps in order. The first step being identification of research problem. Still now we have discussed around maybe 5 to 10 questions. So among that, this particular identification of research problem has been repeated around 3-4 times. So this is the first step. So there is no doubt about this, that C is the answer for this question undoubtedly. But keeping this in mind, we will just go with the other steps of research. This will definitely help you in identifying the other steps of research beside identification of research problem. So 3 is the first step. Then comes here is research objectives and hypothesis, that is stating research objectives and hypothesis. Just to recall the quick revision session which we discussed in the previous video, we told very clearly there is one step, that is the first step of research, where we told very clearly we need to define as well as we need to redefine a research problem. Then what we need to do? We need to do review of literature. Through review of literature, we will get some knowledge about research gaps. We can identify research gaps after going with the review of literature. After identifying the research gaps, we need to formulate the objectives. These objectives are very important. So many questions have been asked about objectives and hypotheses. Objectives cannot be in question form. Remember this. Objectives cannot be a question form. Plus, hypothesis also cannot be in a question form. They are statements. They are statements, which is very important. Keeping that in mind. So the next step in the research process is second. That is stating research objectives. The next comes is methodology. Methods of data collection. So that is important. This is very important. Next comes here is data collection and analysis of data. Data collection and analysis of data. You may get a doubt, sir. Just one slide before, you told that hypothesis is done after collecting of data. That is what I am saying. Here we told stating hypothesis. This is nothing but establishing hypothesis. This is nothing but formulating hypothesis. We have not gone to testing of hypothesis still yet. So you should identify the meaning of these both words, my dear friends, hypothesis as well as hypothesis testing. Establishing hypothesis is done in the first step, that is the formulating of research problem. Then after collecting the data, analyzing the data, the next comes here is hypothesis testing. Testing of hypothesis, which is very important. And the last one is the statement of results and discussions. So this is presenting of your report, highlighting your conclusion, so projecting your findings and summary. So this is the last step, that is step number 5. So the answer for this particular question is undoubtedly C, my dear friends. So only based upon identification of research problem, you will get the answer for this question. We will move to the next question. The first step in research, identification of the research problem. Next question. Objectivity in research implies, that means whatever you have framed the objectives of the research, they should be very consistent with reality. This is the objectivity in research implies they should be consistent with the reality. Why you have used this word reality? Whatever is there, which you have collected the fact, you are just presenting that fact. That is important. So the answer is undoubtedly B, my dear friends. Next question. Ex post facto research. Yes, here comes the most important concept, that is research methods. We discussed a few questions related to introduction of research, that is concept, characteristics, as well as objectives. So now the most important concept, that is research methods, where you can expect not less than 2 to 3 questions, 2 to 3 questions through this topic, research methods. This is very important. There is no limit for asking questions. It is not that among those 50 questions exactly 5 questions should come from each unit. It is nothing. There is no rule like that. So you can get even 6 questions, 7 questions also. So this topic is very important. Keep that in mind, my dear friends. First of all, what is ex post facto research? We told very clearly about ex post facto research in our quick revision. It is a part of descriptive research where you also have independent variables as well as dependent variables. But dependent variable is also very important here. So this particular research is carried out only after a particular incident. You have to remember this. We will move to the next concept. The principles of fundamental research. We were discussing about methods of research. This question also been asked many times indirectly with different content. You might have we gone through experimental research and we discussed about the importance of independent variables, dependent variables, extraneous variables, and we already mentioned about these concepts very clearly, that manipulation is done through experimental research, and that experimental research have two important concepts. One is fundamental research. This fundamental research is also called as pure research or basic research, and this will definitely help out in using in applied research, my dear friends. So the principles of fundamental research are used not in action research. Action research is different. Immediate solution is required. That is a different. Philosophical research, motivation, thinkers, taking the views of the various intellectual personalities, projecting a vision, directing the whole crowd, public towards a vision. That is philosophical research. Historical research, it is also fact based, but the only thing is here you don't use hypothesis. These are the important points here. So the answer for this particular question is B, my dear friends. Yes. Then we go to the next question, which is very, very important. Which of the following statements regarding the meaning of research? We got one more question, my dear friends, regarding the meaning of research, which is correct. Research refers to a series of systematic activity or activities undertaken to find out a solution of a problem. Correct. Research is always systematic. So many questions has been asked with this particular word as option. Research is not systematic. In few questions, question has been asked like this in options. Research is a systematic. The answer is all the above. Something like that has been asked earlier in the earlier question papers. So you can see that research is a systematic process. Research is a logical. Of course, research should be unbiased. You should not show your biased views on a particular group. Research should be error free. Research should be accurate. Research should be reliable. Research should be empirical. These are very important characteristics. So in research ethics, this point is very important. That is unbiased process wherein verification of hypothesis, data analysis, interpretation, formation of principles can be done perfectly correct, 1000% correct, totally acceptable. It is an intellectual inquiry or quest towards truth. So you are in search of some truth. So you are doing some inquiry to find out the actual truth. It leads to enhancement of knowledge. Obviously, adding knowledge, finding new facts. So adding new views to the existing points, adding new principles. So going with new solution. So all these are very important statements, my dear friends. So none of these statements are negative. None of these statements are out of the box. They are perfectly matched with the content. So D is the answer for this particular question, undoubtedly. We will move to the next question, my dear friends. The next question is very simple. You can see here, from the following list of statements, identify the set which has negative implication from research ethics. Oh my god, you are speaking about research ethics here, where you are clearly saying that. So, what are those negative statements? Why? Because these days, so there is one particular chapter added at the PhD level program, that is research ethics. You need to follow research ethics, otherwise, you have to face some consequences, not only from the university. If your plagiarism report is not good, definitely your PhD will be listed, your PhD will be blacklisted. So that's the reason you should not copy the content, and like you should not misuse the funds. So all these are the important aspects which are included in the research ethics, and this particular research ethics chapter has been added in your research methodology if you are going with pre-PhD examination during your doctoral program. So this is very important. Keeping that in mind, here there are some statements and they are saying that which has negative implications. First, a researcher critically list at the findings of another research. So critically listing of the findings of another research. So this is somewhat different. Next, research studies are cited without proper references. Yes, this is totally negative in nature. Very negative concept. Next, research findings are made on the basis of policy making. These are correct. Content, you can see the research methods. On this side you can see the data collection tools available, my dear friends. So one thing which is very clear to this, that is experimental, ex post facto, descriptive method, historical method. Ex post facto, descriptive method, historical method. One thing which is very clear, that experimental methods use some standard tests, because the name itself says that it's an experimental method. You cannot go with questionnaires there. So are you going with questionnaires? You are going to check the growth of a plant. So you are going to check the impact of one drug on curing a infection. So are you giving that questionnaire to that infection and you are asking, please fill this questionnaires? How is it possible? So this is not possible. So experimental research is undoubtedly, it's a standard one. If anybody asks you, I am doing an experiment, then they will get a different opinion on you, saying that, oh, this person is working on experiments. So this is a wonderful thing. I think definitely he is going with some standard test. Otherwise, it cannot be so simple in nature. So experimental method goes with standard tests. This is 100% correct. This is undoubtedly 100% correct. Next comes here, you can see. So in descriptive survey method, what you will do, you will go for a survey. What you will carry, you will carry a checklist, you will carry a questionnaires, and in this survey method you are taking some questionnaires and thereafter you are dealing with those questionnaires. So this is very clear that experimental research is going with standard tests, as well as descriptive survey method is going with questionnaires. So these both options are very clear in terms of identifying the correct answer. So B is the answer for this particular question. The next comes is ex post facto research, that is a typical characteristic test, as well as a historical method, that is using primary and secondary sources of data. In historical method also we will go with primary and secondary sources of data is also very important. It will also be there in historical method, my dear friends. So the answer for this particular question is B for your understanding purpose, which is very important. Keeping that in mind, we have one more question related to research methods. We have few questions related to these research methods in our next video on research aptitude top MCQs. We will discuss few more questions related to hypothesis, sampling. There are few more questions. After that, we will go with even referencing as well as research ethics. This will definitely add value to you in going with to your examination, my dear friends. Next, you can see here again ex post facto research. What has been used? Case study method has been used. Philosophical method has been used. Again, you can see descriptive survey method is used. So there is no doubt the same question he will not ask who, the one who is organizing NTA examination, the one who is preparing NTA examination question paper. Obviously, he will not ask the same question two times with the same words like ex post facto research or descriptive survey method. So this shows that questions are being repeated. You have to just identify the content, which is very important. Keeping this in mind, we are going with the most important concept, my dear friends. So ex post facto research, case study method, philosophical research, descriptive survey method. On the other side, you can just go with the various concepts associated with those methods. One among that is finding out the status based on a study of large sample. There is no doubt about that. While going for a survey, let us assume you are going for a census survey, calculating the population. How many people are there? The population of our country. Are you taking a very small sample or are you going to take a huge sample? Always survey. When government is conducting a survey, it will organize that survey by taking the views of large people. So, survey method is directly linked with large sample. So, by this particular point, it is very clear that this is the answer for this question undoubtedly, without any doubt in your mind. Then we will go with one more philosophical method. You can see here philosophical method. I told very clearly in the previous revision class also. I told very clearly saying that you are taking the views of Bhagat Singh. You are taking the opinions, views of Subhash Chandra Bose, and these are great thinkers. Like we have wonderful leaders available in our country. Their policies, their thinking, their vision, Che Guevara, their vision is wonderful. I told very clearly that interpretations of thoughts, a thought is nothing but thinking of a great thinker. So she is undoubtedly two. One word which links with this method. So why I am repeatedly telling these methods, because so many questions has been asked in the previous examinations on these questions. That's the reason we are highlighting these concepts. So keeping that in mind, C is undoubtedly 2, my dear friends. You can see here C is 2. Then we have one more option, that is ex post facto research, that is casual comparison and correlation of these studies. Next we have case study method, in-depth study of a specified unit for a particular purpose. Always remember, case study don't require a sampling, case study don't require a hypothesis. You remember these words. Case study don't require hypothesis, don't require sampling. You are just going with a particular solution. You are just going with individual research. It's a descriptive one. So it don't require case study, don't require sampling, as well as case study don't require any kind of hypothesis. So D is the answer for this question. Next question. We'll go with one more question. Here you can see fundamental research, applied research, action research, evaluating research. So this is a different question. In the previous question, we have seen some more methods: ex post facto method, case study method, philosophical method. Now none of them has repeated here. You can see here fundamental research, applied research, action research, as well as evaluating research. My dear friends, very important. Keeping this in mind, you can just go with the various options related. Here we have 4 methods, but here he has given us the 5 different characteristics or meaning related to those methods, those types of research, to confuse you. So keeping that in mind, fundamental research, applied research, action research, and evaluation research, you can go with all these concepts, my dear friends. One among that is very important, finding out the extent of perceived impact of an intervention. Okay. Developing an effective explanation through theory building. Okay. Improving an existing situation through the use of improving the existing situation through the use of interventions. This is 100% related to immediate action, that is action research, my dear friends, undoubtedly. Next comes here is exporting the possibility of a theory for use in various situations. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. So you can just remember whatever we have discussed in terms of fundamental research and applied research. So here fundamental research is all about, it is giving us some sort of basics. It is helping in developing a particular principles, as well as it is helping in developing a particular theory. But these particular basics are used to solve the various situations. This is nothing but applied research, my dear friends. So fundamental research, this is directly linked with the second option, as well as applied research is directly linked with the applied research is directly a fourth option, my dear friend. This is the one. So keeping that in mind, this is the answer for this particular question. And evaluating research is finding out the extent of perceived impact of an intervention. There will be one word, we can just relate that one word with the meaning as well as types of research. This will definitely help you in getting the answer. Perfect, my dear friends. Very good. We will move to the next question. Controlled group condition is applied in experimental research. In survey, we are going with questionnaires. In survey, you are going with large sample. Survey is always quantitative research. Survey will be always structured research. Survey will be always planned. Remember this. These are the some of important points of survey research. Next comes here is historical research. You will not use hypothesis in historical research. In historical research, you will also have primary as well as secondary data. Primary data are real evidences. You cannot collect the evidence of something happened 400 years before. It's not possible. So primary data is you are collecting live evidences. If something happened in front of you, some abnormal situation happened in front of you, some accident happened in front of you, and you are going and interviewing that person, that is primary data. So he is telling you around 20 years before something like this happened. So that is different. Here we also use primary and secondary data. Here you don't require any hypothesis. Experimental research, independent variable is controlled and dependent variables reading measurement is calculated here. Here you have controlled group as well as experiment group. This is very important. So this is the answer for this particular question, where you can see controlled group. So in the previous class we also discussed about this. In experimental research, you will have controlled group, where in that controlled group you will go with a normal procedure. In experiment group, you will go with adding some more value in terms of crop growing, like that we have discussed. So controlled group is important in experimental research, my dear friends. Very good. Next, a doctor studies the relative effectiveness of two drugs on dengue fever. See here, a new question has been asked. Research would be classified as, this is not a descriptive survey, this is not a case study, this is not ethnography, this is a research related to experiment. So this is experimental research. Next, manipulation is always a part of experimental research. So this particular word has been repeated in the earlier one, my dear friends. So this is experimental research. Next question. The process not needed in experimental research is, so we require observation. You are just observing how much infection is reduced using that particular drug, this particular drug, and this is the heart. Manipulation, replication are very important words controlling, you can control that drug. Otherwise what happens is, if research is uncontrolled, automatically you have to face so many consequences. So research can control, but reference collection might not be that much important when compared to these three options. So the answer for this particular question, which is not needed in experimental research, is reference collection, my dear friends. Next, experimental study is based on. So experimental study cannot be based upon survey of literature. No, it is based upon manipulation of variables. These variables, we have independent variables, we have dependent variables. We discussed about all these concepts, my dear friends. So the answer is none other than manipulation of variables. This is very important. Which of the following is not method of research? It is survey. We have gone through observational method, historical method, philosophical method. So survey is not the method of research. Next comes here is, again we have one more, match the following, my dear friends, for your understanding purpose. Okay, are you following, my dear friends? Are you following? You can see here, you can just predict this question. So by this you can understand how many times this type of questions repeatedly asked in the examination. I just want to know that whether you are following me or not. That's nice. That's very good. We'll conclude this class in another 10 minutes, my dear friends. We thought of going for 1 hour session. Definitely we'll discuss many more MCQs, as well as we'll also go with new MCQs also, which we can expect in the examination. This will definitely be helpful for you. Yeah. Okay. Okay, my dear friends. Okay. We will move to the next question. That is, match the following, where we have, on the left side we have the various methods related to research. On this side, that is right side, we have the meanings of those methods of research. Here we have four methods. Again, he had given us five to confuse you, undoubtedly. So keeping this in mind, historical method, survey method, philosophy method, experimental method. Wonderful. We have past events. 100% past events are linked with historical method. Next comes here is survey method. Survey method is linked with the present. You are doing a survey based upon the present situation, right? You are doing based upon the present situation. This is important. Next comes here is philosophy method of research. That is vision. We told about great thinkers. We told about these people. Then the last one comes here is experimental research. You are conducting all these experiments for the future action. Why ISRO is conducting various experiments in space? So that future scope of action. Why NASA is conducting various experiments? Why these premium organizations are spending crores of amount in going, and they are collecting some information about Mars, all these various space oriented concepts, so that future they can take some future oriented actions on this. So based upon this exceptional case, he is not at all related to any of these. So the answer is this, my dear friends, which is very important. We'll move to the next concept. Next question. We have one more, match the following. where you can see experimental, descriptive, historical, longitudinal. So you can see here very clearly, one is experimental, one is descriptive, one is historical, and one is longitudinal. The number of times you are collecting information, that depends upon which research design, cross-sectional research design or longitudinal research design. That's very important. So here, based upon this, you can see very clearly continuity of method, observations over time, internal method, criticism of data, internal method, criticism of data, criticism of data, criticism of data is nothing but historical. You are just criticizing, and you are going with explaining about those customs, ethnography, dealing with customs, that is ethnography. So you are just going with giving critics on, you are just going on some comments on a particular data of some historical people. So C is Q, my dear friends, undoubtedly. Next comes is B is for R, stratified method sampling. So here you are going with survey. So based upon that, you are going with stratified method sampling. This is very important. Keeping that in mind, you have one more concept, that is longitudinal, continuity of method observations over time. That means you are not collecting data in a single time, you are collecting data multiple times. So keeping this in mind, B is the answer for this particular question, my dear friends, undoubtedly, which is very important for you for your examination. We will move to the next question, my dear friends. The research that generates new ideas, new principles, theories, providing foundation for progress and development. Providing foundation. So you are developing new ideas, new principles. This will act as foundation for applied research. That means this is a fundamental research, my dear friends. Next question. We have one more research method, my dear friends. More number of questions has been asked on research methods. That's the reason we are repeatedly showing you all these questions. Definitely we'll also go with variables, sampling and hypothesis very soon. So please maintain patience. Definitely we'll go with more MCQs. So one among that you can see in research methods, that is fundamental research, then applied research, then action research, then case studies in experimental research. Luckily we have 5 methods as well as 5 options available. This is very important and very interesting. Fundamental research, you can see here one point: to establish concepts, to establish principles, to establish theories. Definitely this is related to fundamental research. Then on, you can see here applied research, to identify right practices on the basis of established theory. In the previous question also we discussed the same concept, what we highlighted, what we told you. The fundamental principles, new theories will act as input, will contribute to the next research, that is applied research. So keeping this in mind, we have undoubtedly A is the answer for this particular question. Action research, to find solutions to problems faced by practitioners. This is wonderful. Next, case study, to study individuals in detail, in depth, to establish facts experimentally. Obviously, experimentally word is there, so it is linked with experiment undoubtedly. So the answer for this particular question is none other than A, my dear friends. Next, the research stream of immediate application, immediate solution is action research. So there is one interesting word added here. Type of research: empirical research, evidence based. Do you have some evidence? Then present it to the court. You might have heard this type of terminology in some movies. Empirical is evidence based. What is the evidence for this? What is the evidence for this? Do you have any research reports which you have conducted? This is called empirical research, but the answer for this question is action research. Next, which of the following kinds of research does not require sampling? Undoubtedly, case study. For doing experimental research, also you are taking the sample of blood. For doing some survey, also you are going with for doing some large sample. We have gone to this word large sample. In the same manner, case study method we don't require sampling. Next, an example of non-empirical research. What is empirical research? Evidence based. So you should have evidence for historical research. So but here non-empirical research comes here as a philosophical. So it is not it is an example of non-empirical research. Next, we have one more question related to thesis writing. In PhD thesis, which one is the correct sequence? So we have various questions available, various options available. So survey of related studies introduction. No, first you are not going with survey of related studies. First you are going with introduction, which is important part in thesis writing. Next you are not going with survey of related studies, then references, then introduction, which is wrong. So keeping this in mind, introduction, design, data analysis and interpretation, generalization, conclusions, and survey of related studies, suggestions for future. This is correct. We will go with the next point. Introduction, survey of related studies, design of research, data presentation, analysis and interpretation, formalization of generalization conclusions, suggestions for further research, references as well as appendix. So this particular option is more meaningful than this. So the answer is C, my dear friends, for your understanding purpose. You can just compare. Here we have survey of related studies. Here we don't have survey of related studies. Here we have design of study. Here directly they jump to data analysis. Here data presentation is also there, analysis is also there, interpretation is also there. So here one word is missing here, that is study, research, design. So based upon these both, more weightage is for C. So the answer is C, my dear friends. So thank you very much for your valuable time in watching this video. We will go with more MCQs very soon, my dear friends. So once again, I am reminding you, please go for iconic as well as plus subscription. Depends upon your requirement. You can choose any one of these. Very soon, we are going to target December 2021 as well as target JRF 2022 batch very soon, my dear friends, for management and commerce aspirants as well as Paper-1, which is common for all, as well as CSIR part 1 is also going to start very soon. So keeping that in mind, so you can go with any one of these, but don't forget to use Basha 10 as a reference code in order to get 10% flat discount, my dear friends. So once again, I thank you for your valuable time. Please subscribe to our Unacademy NET YouTube channel. Please click on this bell icon as well as please like this video and share this video among your friends. Thank you very much for your valuable time, my dear friends. I hope this class will definitely help you. Okay, my dear friends, we'll meet again tomorrow with a new concept, that is quick revision on communication. Very soon we are also going with part 2 of teaching aptitude as well as research aptitude. Bye, my dear friends. Thank you.